I would just get batteries. It'd be a lot easier.
All right, everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you look back there over at Eric right now, he's taking his tire off, and we're gonna get you a step-by-step real quick video on how to replace your front brake calipers. He's doing calipers and pads. Rotors are in decent condition. His pads are actually in decent condition. He's just doing it because he has a stuck caliper. So what you're gonna need is you're gonna need a 22 millimeter to take the tire off. Deep sock, well, whatever, deep impact. You're going to need a 21 millimeter for 2 bolts on the back side of the caliper. You're going to need an 18 millimeter for the bolts for the pins that go into the caliper for this guy right here. Then your banjo bolt is an 11 millimeter, and the bolt that holds your brake pad or your brake hose on going to the caliper is a 10 millimeter. So 22 millimeter, 18 millimeter, no, 22 millimeter, 21 millimeter, 18 millimeter, 11 millimeter, 10 millimeters. The sockets you're gonna need. This is for probably 2001 on up to maybe I'll say 2010 for right now. I didn't look it up, but so pretty simple process. We are doing it on the 2007 LBZ. Let's get into it. 10 millimeter banjo bolt right here. 11 millimeter. This bolt right here is your back caliper. That's how you take the whole caliper off. 22 millimeter right here, and then one up here as well. Right there. 18 millimeter. 18 millimeter. So first things first is we're going to go ahead and take off the 18 millimeter bolts right here on the side of the caliper for the slider pins. You want to wait on that for a second? And then we're going to go ahead and start trying removing the caliper itself. This is a stuck caliper, so it is pretty stuck on here. The pistons don't want to basically compress back in or decompress. So little pry bar, some screwdriver, wiggling back and forth, and you'll get it done. Then we're just going to go ahead, set it right on top of the upper control arm, so that way it does not leak, and we will swap it over into the next step. Now we're going to go ahead and break loose the 21 millimeter nuts on the back side for the caliper bracket. Alright, so now that we've got that caliper bracket off, Eric's got the new caliper bracket he's going to put on. Basically, we've got the slider pins already for the pads. We've got those installed. We've got them greased up. The pins that go in the side here are already pre-greased, so you don't have to worry about it. Now we're going to go ahead and mount the bracket on first, and then once this bracket is mounted on, we're then going to put the pads on. And then once we get the pads on, we'll take the new caliper and put it next to this one, take the banjo bolt off, put it on the new one, and put it in. Now the reason why we do it that way is because brake fluid is really nasty, and this is a good way to minimize the amount of brake fluid that is happening and draining everywhere, so you don't, take your banjo bolt off and you just dripping brake fluid everywhere. Doing it this way, where you keep the old caliper intact on that banjo bolt until you're absolutely ready to throw the new one, take it off and throw it on the new one. It just makes life that much easier. Alright, so I do want to mention the torque spec before we get going on this. The torque spec for the caliper bracket bolts, those two 21 millimeters, that is going to be 221 foot-pounds. 221 foot-pounds. Please do it. Now that we have the pads on, we're going to go ahead and put the new caliper on and get that mounted in place. Now the slide bolts, these bolts are going to be an 80 foot-pound torque spec. So now that we've got the caliper bracket on, we've got the new caliper on, we've got it all mounted in place, now we take the old banjo bolt off, and we take the brake hose and we'll attach it with the new banjo bolt that came with these calipers onto here. It really keeps your brake fluid really down when you're doing this type of job. It's a very simple job to do, you guys. I did them in my driveway. Eric's got a nice lift here to do it. All right, banjo bolt, and that is 30 foot-pounds of torque. All right, so pointing out, crush washer on top, crush washer on bottom. And then when you are doing the crush washers, make sure you take your old crush washers off. Sometimes you have to hold it with a channel lock and back out the bolt. the banjo bolt there. Again, 30 foot-pounds on, on that banjo bolt. And then don't forget to, right here, this bracket, 10 millimeter. I don't have a torque spec on that, just get it good and tight. Again, this is just a really quick video, you guys. Really simple job to do is your brakes. I know a lot of people take it to places, and that's 100% fine. It's really a quick, simple job, especially when you have two people. I'm also doing a review on some hand towels right now. As you know, I did grip clean versus tub of towels. I'm now doing grip clean versus crocodile cloth. So watch that video coming up here in the future. I think this is going to be Monday's video. I'm not sure for sure. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much. Please follow the podcast, the DIY Diesel Podcast, Apple, Spotify, all that kind of fun stuff, anywhere you can find it. Good job. Stuck caliper, no more. When you have a stuck caliper, please stop driving truck because you could cause a lot of damage. You could warp your rotors. Eric stopped it immediately. We don't have to worry about warped rotors. And you got anything?
I think that's it.
All right. Have a good night. Also, how to bleed your brakes. We just did a quick how to bleed your brake video. I'll link that below for you guys. Pretty simple. 2 people, helps a lot. Yeah, watch that video. I think I'll link another video below too when we did the rear brakes on this truck. I'll link that below just in case that other brake bleeding video I just did wasn't that good. So have a good night again.